Oh, you damn right. Recruiting never stops. We even have a portal window that's open. Let's do it on this beautiful Wednesday. Remember, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. is the recruiting hour with Orange Bloods Live. If you're watching us live, we appreciate you jumping in. If you're watching us later, as many of you do, we do appreciate the support that way. Thank you for liking, subscribing, getting those notifications. That, of course, is Jason Sukamel of orangebloods.com. He's going to get you all the latest recruiting info that is fit to print and talk about right now. Before we jump in, let's give Longhorn Wealth Management their love, because Longhorn Wealth Management Group is the official sponsor of the recruiting hour. There's John and that beautiful Longhorn, and John is certainly following things in terms of the portal. He sent me a message about, hey, how about that Emmett Mosley out of Stanford? Yeah, and he wants to celebrate Emmett Mosley and maybe the portal additions to come by offering and encouraging Orange Bloods Live folks to sign up for that free 90-minute private consultation that we've told you about. Again, a free 90-minute private consultation with John to learn how working with a certified financial planner like John can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. And speaking of legacy, we've told you John is absolutely UT through and through. His wife and 6 siblings, all UT grads. So you know you're dealing with a Longhorn here. You can call John and Longhorn Wealth at 972-707-4900 or go online to longhornwealth.net. Schedule that free 90-minute private consultation today. A lot of excitement around that transfer portal, but obviously there's always excitement around recruiting, and we're going to jump right in there. Jason, always good to see you, and I feel like there's a set of names in this 2026 class that we always talk about if it's necessary, because these are the guys that really, really matter. Every Longhorn fan wants an early Christmas present of Turntine and Ojo. So we've talked Ojo. Now let's talk Turntine, because Big John Turntine was in town for a visit last weekend. Give us the update.
Yeah, and good morning, Big Chad Gibson in the chat there.
Here we go.
It's funny, Chad. I posted some stuff on Orange Bloods today, and the question was like, "Hey, what's more likely? Turntine commits and then Ojo commits second, or Ojo commits and Turntine commits second?" I'm like, man, I don't know the answer to that. That'd be a good problem to have, right? So, who's more likely to follow the other one or not be afraid of the other? I don't think either guy's afraid of competition. But let's talk John Turntine. You're right. He did visit Texas last weekend. It was a multi-day visit. He came in Friday, was there on Saturday, went to the UT practice on Saturday, the scrimmage, got a lot of time with the Texas coaches. According to John himself, hey, another really productive visit. He liked what he saw from practice. He liked the messaging from the coaches. He actually talked to his dad. His dad was there with him. His little brother was there with him. And his dad just said, hey, man, it was like a really good visit for us to kind of just see things on a more personal level and talk to these coaches on a more personal level and really get acquainted with those guys. So I think it was a really good visit for Texas. Right as they were leaving campus, that's when I was talking to his dad. I said, oh, what are you guys going to do the rest of the day? He goes, oh, we're going to just head across the river there and go see, I think he has twins that go to Houston Tillotson, and then they have a daughter that goes to UT. So everything's kind of right there, right? So it's like, oh, that's pretty convenient. Go enjoy some time with the family. So that can't hurt, right? That cannot hurt Texas's chances to be like, hey, all my kids be in the same area. But, the biggest revelation for John Turntine coming out of this weekend, Chad, it always been Texas A&M. Tennessee was really hanging around there as maybe kind of a sleeper. He had visited Tennessee. He's got an official visit set up. Well, he did go visit Michigan a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. That visit really moved the needle. He's setting up a Michigan official visit. And John said, hey, I'm kind of looking at 3 schools. I mean, it's Texas. It was funny. He goes, it's Texas, Michigan. He goes, that other school down the road, I'm not going to say it because people at Texas get mad. He's talking about Texas A&M, but he didn't want to say it. You don't want to say it because he's talking to a Texas reporter.
Wow.
Yeah, but those, so I mean, and I'm not saying to discount Tennessee completely. They're still in the race, but he said he's kind of focused on Texas A&M, and now Michigan after that Michigan visit. So a little bit of an interesting development there. I still think it comes down to an in-state battle, but you can't sleep on Michigan. That's a good program. I I know they didn't have a great season under Coach Moore year one, but they've kind of got things from a recruiting perspective. They got things trending in the right direction, and I think Michigan will be a player there, but I think it'll come down to Texas or Texas A&M in the end.
Interesting. House divided, and then Michigan. Certainly, when you
Yeah.
think of offensive line
Big
and Michigan, it goes together. I can understand that. So, Jason, in terms, the part of this that I have been interested in, and you said the word earlier, messaging from the coaches. Any insight into? You said there was positivity in terms of what Turntine was hearing from the coaches. Any feel from you on the message they're sending him and whether or not the idea of Turntine and Ojo is realistic for Texas fans to be thinking about?
The message was kind of similar what it was to Felix Ojo. Like, John, you are a major priority. We want you here. We can develop you here. We think this is the best place for you academically, athletically, development-wise. Look what Kyle Flood's done with offensive linemen. It's a pretty standard recruiting pitch, if I'm being honest, to a guy like John Turntine or Felix Ojo, just letting them know, hey, you are a priority for us. To answer the question about him and Ojo, is it a possibility? Yeah, it's a possibility. I wouldn't say it's a probability, right? That's just, but I do feel better about that being a possibility after this visit than maybe I would have said maybe if you asked me that question last week. So, I think Texas leads for Felix Ojo. I think there may be co-leaders with Texas A&M. If I kind of want to walk the ledge a little bit here, I'm not ready to call either one the leader, but I think Texas and Texas A&M truly are kind of 50-50 for John Turntine. So I could make a case individually. Texas gets Felix Ojo individually. Texas is going to get John Turntine. But then when you pull them together, that makes it a little more tough, right? Because they both they probably both envision themselves as left tackles. Neither one wants to be a right tackle. Neither one wants to be a guard. The dream for all these guys is to be a left tackle at a program like Texas. So you'd have to do some kind of convincing on some, like, hey, best man's going to win, or, you could sell them on, hey, the NFL will love that you can play right tackle or left tackle. You can even be a swing guy at guard. So, there's ways to sell that, but, will it be enough to get Texas over the hump to get both those guys? I don't know. I wouldn't put money on it, but it's certainly a possibility.
And by the way, Jason, to that question earlier, you said that you got about people asking about which order would be preferable or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in my gut that says Turntine first would be better. If you're going to get
how I answered it,
right?
Chad, funny, but I said that's just. We're just guessing, really. But yeah, I think so, because first off, I don't think John Turntine fears Felix Ojo.
No.
I don't think Felix Ojo fears John Turntine in terms of winning a spot. But I know Felix fancies himself as the best of the best. I know Felix Ojo fancies himself as a true left tackle and only left tackle, and he should. He's like 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is. Turntine, if he committed first, you could say to Felix, hey, John might end up being an interior guy at some point. John might be a right tackle. Felix, you still are our left tackle. So I think that would probably be the more likely order, Chad, but that's just me kind of reading between the lines a little bit.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. Big Cheddar jumps in with a chat. I was going to ask about either of them maybe playing a different spot if both come to Texas. Obviously, Big Cheddar, that would have to happen depending on, I guess the developmental timelines could be slightly different with red shirts and things that can happen. But that would be my thought of it, is that if Turntine goes first, and then deep down we all know that push comes to shove, left tackle would be Ojo. Ojo coming in second to me would make sense there, because he's not fearing the situation at all, and it would prove that neither of them is, to your point, Jason. But I think it's overall pretty good news, and that messaging for the Texas coaches is, they've got to be not careful. They've got to be specific. They got to be specific, but they also have to tell these guys the truth. They have to be honest with them, and maybe Kyle Flood can make an argument to, let's say it's Turntine, can make an argument to Turntine like, hey, man, I'm going to turn you into a badass something. It may not be the exact something you want, but all the other stuff is going to be there, and then you're going to head off to the pros, and you can be anything they want you to be, and that may be left tackle.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also say to Turntine, look, man, I'm just going to be honest with you. Your long-term future is probably at guard. I mean, Felix Ojo's 6'7", 280. John Turntine, 6'4", ish. Maybe, I mean, we have him listed at 6'4". He's always 6'4". He might be 6'3" and some change, but 265 pounds. So we're talking, 3 to 4 inch height difference there. So, 6'4", I mean, in the NFL nowadays, I mean, these tackles are 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". So I'm not saying John Turntine can't be a left tackle at a place like Texas or even in the NFL, but some people might look at him and say, John, if I'm just going to be honest with you, hey, your future might be as an interior guy, and you go have a 15-year career in the NFL as an offensive guard potentially. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So, I just, there's ways to have that conversation, but you got to, kind of be gentle, but also be direct with John Turntine. If you think you can get both of them, like, hey guys, better yet, come in. We're going to line you guys up side by side. John, you're going to be our starting guard from day one. Felix, you're going to be our left tackle. Oh. We're going to just run over people, and we're going to make you guys a bunch of NIL money and develop you guys both into high draft picks, and you guys can, in a few years, ride off into the sunset to the NFL. So, I don't know what the sales pitch will be. I'm putting my recruiter hat on, but that's, to me, the best avenue for Texas to try to get both those guys into this class.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Our man Esrone's trying to help out with a wonderful comp for Turntine. Let's get this messaging to Turntine. Same height as Justin Blaylock, just saying.
Yeah, you talk about a long-term interior NFL career. I mean, what's better than that? I mean, and ultimately, I would assume that's what John Turntine wants. I mean, does he want to have his what's the express? Have my cake and eat it too. Yeah, he wants to have his cake and eat it too and be a left tackle. But hey, John, if you can just have your cake, and that cake's worth $40 million over the course of your career, but you don't get to, you're playing left guard, well, then just be a left guard and enjoy a long career.
Badass tackle at college, badass guard in the NFL, make your money. And if Texas could also get, Jason, the type of guy out of Turntine that they got out of Justin Blaylock, like not going to give you trouble.
That is John Turntine. Yep.
Mild-mannered, nice guy, but when the lights turn on, he turns into a killer. That's what Justin Blaylock was. So maybe get Turntine studying up on Blaylock's history. That might be a good idea. That's
not a bad idea. And Turntine is not a guy that's going to give you trouble outside, outside football. He's a good kid. He's grounded. I don't think you have to worry about John Turntine being an issue.
I will never forget the first few times we got to sit with Justin Blaylock at a media deal, and it was just like, how is this guy a monster offensive lineman? How's it possible? Like, his demeanor was so sweet and nice, and just like he was a nerd. Like, he was a big old nerd, and he would talk about playing the Magic card game and stuff like that. And then the game started, and he just mauled people. It was incredible. Shout out to Justin Blaylock.
I'm going all the way back to 2002. He was 6'4", but he was 325 pounds. I mean, John Turntine, 60 pounds lighter. I remember Blaylock was a lot wider than Turntine. I mean, and John's trying to kind of redevelop his body, if you will. And he lost a bunch of weight. So he's trying to, kind of put on some good mass. But, two different players. But the height thing matches up for sure.
Yeah. By the way, Esrone, you did sort of maybe establish the full spectrum there. You're either Justin Blaylock or you're Jonte Cook. There's a lot of guys between those two. That's an interesting way to phrase it. All right, we're in the recruiting hour here. John Turntine makes the visit last weekend, and there feels like a final three with Michigan joining Texas and Texas A&M. We got a lot more recruiting hour coming. Let's get Specs their love. Thanks for those of you jumping in the Specs chat. It is anniversary time for Specs, celebrating their 63rd anniversary. Also, they are a great Texas company. As long as we're talking Texas recruiting, let's get you a little Specs.
As a Texas family-owned business, we know you don't mess with Texas. And you won't find more ways to raise a glass of Texas-made cheer than right here. So whatever you're planning, we're ready to get you ready. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
No doubt. Get stocked up at Specs. If you are a crazy wrestling freak like me, you know it's WrestleMania weekend. So get all stocked up at Specs. All right, Jason, anything else on Turntine before we turn to something else?
No, we can turn to something else. The only other note on John is he doesn't have a firm commitment date. He's just kind of like,
Okay.
I think it'll happen this summer. But he said, hey, it's just kind of whenever it hits me. So, I mean, I'm assuming he'll take those official visits, the kind of normal path is you take those official visits and you commit in July or maybe August. But John's just kind of, I mean, he could wake up tomorrow and it might hit him and feel right and could wind up making a decision. I don't expect that, but he's not on a firm timeline or a firm plan for a timeline.
And before we jump off of him, let me lay it out. We've talked about June 6th, 13th, and 20th as going to be big weekends for Texas. Remind me where Ojo and Turntine are in that discussion.
Ojo's the 13th. Turntine is on the 20th. He's got A&M the first weekend. So I think, he's got Tennessee for now. Let me double check that. Yeah, he's got Tennessee on the 13th. So I've got to wonder.
That'll change to Michigan.
Maybe, or maybe he takes Michigan late May. I don't know what's going to happen there. But, bottom line is, Texas gets the last crack at them on June 20th, so not necessarily a bad thing.
There you go. Ojo 13th and Turntine on the 20th. Those would be two wild weekends to follow in recruiting. All right, if you guys want to jump in the Specs chat, feel free. If you want to throw in a super chat, you'll go right to the top of the list. If you're like Sailor Joe and you throw in a crazy wrestling reference, I might pop it up on the screen. Sailor likes John Cena. He spelled it wrong. He was in a hurry. It's okay. He likes John Cena to get a win this weekend. All right. So, Jason, in terms of other stuff recruiting-wise, more than just John Turntine coming in town, I know you were definitely taking note of a couple of out-of-state guys that Texas was trying to make ground with this weekend, and maybe they did it. Let's start with, how about Dre Quinn, defensive side of the ball here? What do we need to know about this guy?
Yeah, Dre's interesting. He's out of Georgia, okay? And I'll be honest, Chad, I didn't know a lot about Dre Quinn coming into this visit. I didn't have the highest of expectations just because I never talked to him. I hadn't heard him talk up Texas much. But, boy, Texas knocked it out of the park. I mean, this is a guy that sits just outside the Rivals 100 at number 102 nationally. So, big-time player. He left town, and we got to talk to him, and he loved everything about it. I mean, loved everything about it. He said, hey, Texas is officially in my top 3. He set up an official visit to come back in June. He said, I loved the way they practice. I loved the facilities. I love the people here. I love the city of Austin. I love that you're not out in the middle of nowhere. You got everything around you here and things to do. So, some people want the smaller setting. Dre Quinn kind of, he's from Norcross, Georgia. He goes to Greater Atlanta Christian. So I'm assuming he's in the metropolitan Atlanta area. So he's maybe a big city kid.
Feels like a city guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I came into this one, Dre Quinn. I mean, I won't say it wasn't on my radar. I mean, Texas just offered him in January. This was his first visit. I mean, he was on my radar because he had an offer, but he wasn't a guy we were talking about. I don't think you and I have ever talked about him on this show. Well, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about him now. He's coming back, like I said, for an official visit that June 13th weekend. And I think Texas is a very strong player for Dre Quinn all of a sudden.
That's really interesting. Yeah, we always talk about the impact Austin can make on everybody. There's nobody visits Austin and just goes, nah. I mean, it's
well, I've had a couple, believe it or not, I've had a couple of people over the years.
That's okay. I mean, but for the right kid though, that's got to be. And if you're telling me he's it's an Atlanta area guy, because I've done the fly into Atlanta drive to Georgia thing, and it's cool if you like that thing. But there is a certain out there to Athens. Like, it's away from stuff. It doesn't feel like this badass, vibrant city that also has a school. It's got a little more of that college town vibe than what Austin has. So that's an interesting reaction from him.
Yeah. And, I just kind of misread it. I'm like, okay, I'll be honest. I mean, he doesn't do much media interviews that I'd seen, and certainly not with Orange Bloods. He's a defensive end. He's quiet. He's from Georgia, and then he shows up and like nicest kid ever. And I mean, academics are very important to him. Like, he's flashing the hook'em when hey, Drake, can I get a picture? Yeah. He's throwing up the hook'em. And to be clear, I don't ask these kids to do that. I mean, the only time I'll ever do that is if a kid is committed, but hey, do you mind, then right. Otherwise I'm not, if you want to throw them up, that's up to you. It feels forced for me to ask an uncommitted kid to throw up the hook'em. He did. He was all smiles ear to ear, throwing up the hook'em. And I just misread him, man. I didn't know much about him. And now knowing a little bit more about him, I think Texas has a real shot there.
That's another advantage that maybe we don't talk about enough, but it's not only is it one of the very few hand signs, it is one of the easiest to do.
It's easy to do, and everybody knows it. Yeah.
Right? Everybody knows it. It's so legendary, and it's just, it's just
You
so
know how
easy
stupid
to
I am,
throw up.
Chad? I'm going to just confess my stupidity. I probably could do that every show, every week we have a show, but so the weekly
Jason's
stupidity moment. So, last week, Texas had the linebacker Xavier Griffin, who's committed to USC in town, right? And we'll talk about him in a minute, or like maybe this will be our talk about him. After the event, he said, "Hey, I'm still solid to USC." Like someone said, "Is Texas like number 2 maybe?" He goes, "No, not really." So I'm not looking for a flip there. But what I thought was interesting, he comes out to leave the facilities, right? And he's there with Texas edge coach Lallen Clark, their new edge coach, who is maybe his primary recruiter. And they're posing for a picture. You know, Coach Clark's like, "Hey, what up?" And Xavier Griffin kind of snuck in the USC hand sign. And Coach Clark saw him. He's like, no. And he like kind of swatted his hand out. I was like, I'm not taking that picture. Yeah. I didn't. Do you know what the USC hand sign is?
Isn't it some kind of a two?
Okay, well then we're both stupid.
something with a 2 or what is it?
Yeah, a V.
The V for victory, maybe?
That's right. Which
I knew it involved 2 fingers. I just didn't know how you
closer than I was, because I learned that this weekend. I knew he did a hand sign because I saw Coach Clark like, "No, I'm not taking a picture with you with that." I mean, it was kind of all fun and joking, but sometimes that's a little thing, dude. You're taking a picture with a Texas coach, and you're doing this.
Yeah, we can't be doing that.
Yeah, that'd be like if you're taking a picture with Mike Elko and you do this. I mean, that's a tell, right? That's you're really not feeling the University of Texas, and you are kind of disrespecting Texas almost on their home turf. So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. I had no idea or no clue what USC's hand sign is. I know it now. Yeah. But so just for future reference, it is V for victory is what somebody else told me. So
So again, there's not that many of them out there, but USC is one that has it. And that is a good basic disrespect thing to, I think, talk to kids about. I mean, you have the option to do nothing in that situation, and you probably look, if you're going to be like,
you don't have to throw the hook on, but just neutral. Yeah, exactly.
Like when Bielema was at Arkansas and did the upside down Longhorn sneakily that's his prerogative, and I thought it was cheap.
Yeah,
but it wasn't, in the recruiting world though. Let's probably
these coaches are putting in the time and the effort and inviting you to their house, so to speak. I'm just not a fan of that. It's kind of like when you show up, and I've seen this happen. Kids show up to Austin or wearing like Oklahoma gear, or Oklahoma backpack or something. No, maybe leave that in the car, right? So it's just kind of, I don't know, I don't say disrespectful, but just doesn't always go over very well,
No, let's try to keep it.
I'm not saying that you have to visit Texas, you have to be decked out in burnt orange, and that happens. Some guys do wear Longhorn stuff.
Yeah, keep it neutral.
Yeah, exactly. Just wear your everyday clothes if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, black, gray, white, all can work. If you've got that in the color wheel. All right. So in terms of out of state guys, we hit so that's Dre Quinn. Out of Georgia, and again, that's an edge player, right? Top 10 kind of edge guy in this class.
He is number 10 as an edge defender. So, yep.
Very cool. All right. So, how about Samari Matthews? It's a name I've really liked for a while, but also it's at a badass position. This is a cornerback, correct?
Yeah. Number 29 nationally. So he's a 4-star right now, but if he never moved and stayed at 29, he will be a 5-star. So we're talking an elite player, Chad. And I think I said it on this show last week. I can never remember what I said, where, or if I said it, but I'm pretty sure I said this. There was a lot of scuttlebutt of him favoring South Carolina. Maybe Clemson was in there too. Texas is hanging around, right? Clearly he has an interest, but I said, I had a feeling coming into this visit that he was going to leave Austin like, whoa, like Texas shoots up his list. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. Now, Samari's, first off, he's an awesome interview, awesome kid. Like I'd heard from another Rivals reporter, like, hey, you're going to like talking to Samari Matthews. He's really cool. And he was. I mean, he's like just amazing. So dude's like a seasoned veteran already. But anyways, he's basically said, hey, I've got a top 4. He didn't want to kind of give a pecking order. It's South Carolina, it's Clemson, it's Texas, it's Florida State. Those are the 4 visits he's going to take. But, he kind of said, hey, man, it's pretty clear. Like Texas offered me I don't remember the exact date, but roughly a month or so ago. He goes, I set up my official visit that day. So, it's like, that's a pretty good indicator that he has a strong interest in Texas, right? He came in last weekend. He was there for 3 days, Chad. Like I talked to him, it was on his first day of his visit. So he still had 2 more days to visit. But after day 1, he was like, whoa, this is like, he said, I came in with really high expectations and this went above and beyond my expectations. So,
remind me, he's from a Carolina, is that right?
Yeah, Cornelius, North Carolina, high school. But good length, 6'1", 185. I saw him up at OT7, the 7-on-7 deal up in Dallas. I mean, he's the real deal. I said he's got a good head on his shoulder. He just is a guy that just seems like he would fit in Austin. I mean, a lot of guys come to Texas. I always say I'm pretty lucky. Like the way Texas recruits, they recruit good football players, of course, right? But they also recruit usually good students, good kids. And Samari Matthews fits into the culture at Texas, football-wise, academically, everything about him. So it just feels like that's a really good fit. I feel like Texas is going to be a very strong player in that one. He's got the 4 finalists. He's going to pick from that group of 4. But he spent 3 days in Austin. Loved everything about it. Loved watching the practice, getting to meet the coaches. Coach Orfe actually had recruited him while he was at Rutgers, and he obviously picked it up more now because Coach Orfe, I think, knew when he was at Rutgers, like, I'm not getting Samari Matthews. I'm going to recruit him, but I'm not. Yeah, so, right. But now that he's at Texas, he's got this kind of ammunition to work with. He's like, all right, I'm going to really work on recruiting Samari Matthews. So they knew each other before Samari came to Austin last week, but really connected last weekend. And I think Texas, I'm not saying Texas is going to win. I'm not making that prediction yet, Chad, but I think Texas has a really good shot with Samari Matthews.
Jason, I never would have thought of that back and forth between a coach and a player, but I bet that does exist where Orfe, as long as everybody's cool with it, he gets to walk up to Matthews now and go, oh, now I've got a shot, huh? Now I have a chance.
Before we were just like screwing around like, hey, what's up, my man, from afar? But like now I've actually got a real shot to land you. So let's get down to business. Yeah.
I got a shot at you, Samari. All right. Our guy David Keith threw in a comment about Samari. I want to get your thoughts on it, Jason. Says some posters on various sites have said that Samari Matthews and Cade Phillips look similar. Their listed height and weight is almost identical also. What do you think of that?
They are. And I know why people are saying that, David Keith. It's because they both have the long dreads. I mean, even like physically they look similar, but I can see that though, like in their body styles, just in talking to Cade a bunch and seeing Samari. I think Cade, and again, I'm thinking of Cade like towards the end of his recruitment, so Samari may get there too, but Cade was a little more filled out, I feel like in the chest and stuff, but Samari's still pretty young. He may look like that in a year from now as well. So, but no, I definitely can see the similarities, David Keith. But I think a lot of people are saying, even just seeing pictures of them, because they both have the long hair, they just have a similar profile and a similar physical build. So, yeah, no, I haven't seen that, but I can kind of see why people would say that.
Yeah. Also, David Keith earlier, back to the Xavier Griffin discussion, said even though Xavier Griffin is probably the best linebacker in the 26 recruiting class, do you think the combination of Tyler Atkinson and Kosi Okpala would be a better linebacker duo for Texas?
Better than Xavier Griffin and Kosi, I'm assuming. I don't know what he's referenced there, but are you asking, David Keith, if Texas get Tyler and Kosi versus one of only Xavier?
That's what I would assume, yeah.
Okay, well then, actually, I'm not sure Xavier Griffin's better than Tyler Atkinson based on what I've seen of Tyler. So, yeah, I would take Tyler and Kosi, and I'd be very happy with that. I think Texas has a good shot with Kosi Okpala. I don't know that they have a great shot with Tyler Atkinson. He has visited a couple times. There's some interest there, but he doesn't have an official visit set up yet. And if he doesn't have an official visit, to me, then Texas probably isn't a strong factor there. We'll see if that changes, but no OV with Texas just yet.
David Keith, always appreciate your chats. Appreciate everybody jumping in the Specs chat. We're going through some out-of-state guys that were in for visits last weekend, and maybe Texas gaining a little energy with these guys. Sounds like there's at least a little bit, if not a lot, when it comes to names like Dre Quinn, Samari Matthews, and let me throw in another one here, Jason, because I know Longhorn fans well enough to know that if you can win a recruiting battle with the Sooners or the Aggies, that's one thing. But if you can get a guy out of Norman or College Station, that's a whole nother deal. We've talked about this dude a little bit. Any Mason James updates? Because you told us, I think it was last week, that this guy from Norman is still gonna like consider Texas and visit. So give us an update. Is it still out there?
Yeah, he did visit, and coming into the visit, I would have been like, he's from Norman, Oklahoma. He's going to Oklahoma. Right? Let's just call it what it is. But I tell you what, after talking to Mason James Saturday afternoon as he was leaving town, dude, that guy is really keeping an open mind. I mean, he may wind up at Oklahoma. I'm not saying he's not. Okay. I mean, I'd probably predict that if I was making a prediction. But I do think he is genuine when he says, hey, I'm keeping an open mind. I mean, academics matter to him. Playing style matters to him. The offensive scheme matters to him. And I do feel like if he can find a better fit out of state, he will leave Oklahoma. He said, man, I got a good support system with my parents and my grandparents. He goes, they're going to support me wherever I go. So I don't need to stay close to home. But I'm telling you, man, he's really looking at, like I said, offensive schemes and how receivers are used and development. He said, I looked at DeAndre Moore. I'm sorry. I looked at Dalen McCutcheon, at practice. And he goes, we kind of have a very similar profile in terms of physically what we do and how we play. And so he goes, I was watching Dalen McCutcheon making plays, and he goes, what? That looks appealing to me. So, I would have said coming into that visit last week that I didn't think Texas had much of a shot just based on the fact that Mason James is from Norman, Oklahoma. He is going to take an official visit to Texas now. He's setting that up. So
that's big.
Yeah. So, I'm telling you, I think he's got an open mind where, Texas has a real shot. Now, can they ultimately pull the rabbit out of the hat and get a guy from Norman, Oklahoma to commit and sign? Time will tell on that, but he will give Texas legit consideration. I feel comfortable saying that.
And in terms of a ranking, Jason, remind everybody, I know a guy from Norman just sounds good by definition in terms of the rivalry stuff, but how good a player are we talking about here? How many of the big dogs would want Mason James?
I'll be honest, I haven't looked at his film, but he's a Rivals 250 guy, number 30 nationally. Obviously Oklahoma wants him. Texas wants him. He's picked up some offers recently. Michigan, Notre Dame, Alabama. So, he's a big-time national player. He's just inside the Rivals 250. I wouldn't say he's undersized, but he's not your, outside 6'2", 6'3" receiver. He's probably 5'10", 5'11". Well, let me see. We got him actually 5'11", 175, which is probably pretty accurate. So, more of a slot guy, but, I need to watch his film, to be honest. But, there's got to be a reason all these big schools are coming after him.
Yeah. And then the other thing, we talked about with Dre Quinn, this idea of a guy from Georgia, and you talked about how impressed he was with Austin. If you're in Norman, Oklahoma, and you go to school there, and you can at least open your mind enough to get to Austin, I wonder how much golly factor there is there as well. If you can get in, if you bring family with you, Jason, and there's a true open-mindedness about it, not to mention the fact that Oklahoma is a mess right now.
Yeah, and who knows, man? Maybe he wants – I'm not making a joke about Norman, Oklahoma, but maybe he wants to spread his wings and try something new. This is a guy, Chad, per the Rivals database, in recent weeks has visited Kansas State. He's visited, obviously, Texas, Notre Dame, Missouri, Washington. These are all unofficial visits. So,
yeah,
he's a guy, that I don't say is spreading his wings a little bit, but I don't get the sense that he is a stone cold lock to stay in Oklahoma just because he's from Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah. And some of those kids, it's just person to person going to be different. Some people are going to be that it's always been my dream, and this is where I'm, and because they're going to talk, you're going to get talked about all the time. You're a badass football player in Norman. Of course, they're going to talk about the Sooners, but there are also some kind of kids that don't want to hear that. They want to think about their own path, and maybe it is somewhere else. So keep your eyes peeled for Mason James.
Now, the question is, if he wants to spread his wings and do his own thing and blaze his own path, would it be Texas, or might it be somewhere like, is it maybe safer? I don't say safer, but to go to like Notre Dame, because if you go to Texas, it might be hard to come home, to see the family. People are going to be like, hey, keep your ass down here in Austin. So
right, like how many, like when you go home for Thanksgiving, how many Sooner fans live around you? How many of them, will let you know about it? But hey, Jason, some people really did like. This is a different version of it, but you remember the vibe Kevin Durant had when he got to Oklahoma City and played for the Thunder? He loved trolling Sooner fans, messing with Sooner fans. But this not the same thing. It's not going to high school in Norman and then playing at Texas. Durant's was, I got drafted to a team that eventually moved to Oklahoma City, and he didn't have the choice in that matter. He just enjoyed it. He basked in it in a way. And if you try to do that when you go home for Thanksgiving, that could turn a little different. So I get what you're saying there, because if I'm his friends, I would just make sure he considers that above everything else. If you love Austin, that's cool. If you want to play for Texas, that's cool. We'll support you. Just know what Thanksgiving could be like.
Yeah, and just know when you're done playing, you better live in Austin probably. Don't moving back to Norman. So.
That's probably true too. But you know what, Jason? That game, there's 1,000 things to love about Texas OU. But one of them that I've always loved is that exact thing. The guys from Oklahoma that play for Texas and the guys from Texas that play for Oklahoma, and they're just so wonderfully belligerent about it.
Yeah. A lot more from Texas that go to Oklahoma than there are that head south.
True. But yeah. And there aren't that many. So it would be one that Texas fans would get to kind of little feather in the cap. Mason James, a name to definitely keep in mind. All right, we hit Mason James. We hit Xavier Griffin. You talked about him and the USC hand sign. Might be a good lesson to learn. Just don't go flashing other hand signs. Anything else we need to hit, Jason, this week on the recruiting hour from those visits?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit of KJ Edwards before we get out of here. KJ, of course, the running back from Carthage. We've talked about KJ a bunch. He was in Austin last weekend for a visit, came in on Saturday, watched the scrimmage, and it was big because he got a chance to meet Chad Scott, the new Texas running backs coach, in person. Those two had really connected just via the phone call and different ways you communicate, but that was the first time he got to see him in person. He got to see him coach on the field. KJ said, man, I was really impressed with, he knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing. I was really impressed getting to watch him at the scrimmage. KJ is going to take his Texas official visit. He's got Texas A&M. He's got SMU and Baylor. So he's taking 4 in-state officials. So, he's going to stay in state. And, I get the sense it's Texas and Texas A&M. And he pretty much confirmed that. He said, yeah, those two schools have been with me from the jump. And they've just been consistent. They do the little things the right way. He said, I'm looking for, it's relationships are big to KJ. Well, he took a big step with that, building that relationship with Chad Scott last weekend. He goes, I want a place that utilizes its running backs like Texas does. So I favor Texas in that race, Chad, over Texas A&M. It's not a done deal, I don't think, but I think Texas really helped itself with KJ Edwards, top 50 national running back or overall prospect in the country, I guess, KJ Edwards. I think Texas really helped themselves with that visit last week. And I think they were in a good spot before. I think they're in a better spot coming out of last weekend.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. I liked that details comment where he said they both do the little things right, separating, Texas and Texas A&M separating themselves from other schools maybe in his mind. And Jason, since we have had a couple discussions today about where you go to school and what could be attractive to you, I am also fascinated by kids that are coming from deep East Texas. And where do you want to go to school? You're trying to decide between Austin and College Station. If that's what it comes down to for him, like there are elements of where he grew up that I could compare to College, but it's not the exact same thing. If you've ever been to Carthage, Texas and College Station, that's not the same. And it's certainly not the same for Austin. I always wonder, I spent a little time out there in East Texas, Jason, and I always wonder, like, if you grow up out here in these trees, what is it that you want when it comes to college? Because all I'd want is get me away from trees. Get me to flatlands. That's about all I would want. I'm interested in what KJ Edwards wants.
Well, then maybe he should like College Station because, College Station isn't the small town it used to be, right? It's not Austin.
No, it's true.
It's not really it doesn't have a real small town feel to it anymore. But I don't know. I know KJ likes Austin. I don't think the big city thing scares him. KJ's a really, I mean, you guys hear me say it a lot, but he's an awesome kid. He just is. I mean, I love KJ Edwards. In fact, I saw his dad when they were leaving. I said, hey, man, I want to tell you, I really enjoyed covering your son. I said, as a dad of teenagers of my own, I know how they can be a handful sometimes. And KJ's really just an awesome kid. So he's confident, but grounded. I don't think the big city thing would scare KJ Edwards one bit. Does he favor a small town versus big city? I've never asked him that, Chad. I don't know, but I don't think there's anything about Austin that's a turnoff. The idea of going from a town like Carthage to Austin, Texas, I don't think he would bat an eye at that.
KJ Edwards, one of the big names that has been to Texas recently. And our man David Keith has a quick question, Jason. He's dreaming. Jason, do you think Texas has a reasonable chance to get KJ Edwards and Xavier Crowell in the 2026 recruiting class? That running back duo could be the best to commit to Texas in a single class. And yes, for those who don't know, Crowell is the #1 running back in the entire class.
Do they have a chance, David Keith? Yes. Would I bet on that? Absolutely not. Xavier Crowell did visit Texas a few weeks ago, right? But since then, he's been to Auburn. He's been to Alabama. He's from Alabama. Those two teams are the teams that are kind of setting the pace for him. Most people think he's, let's say, a lock to Alabama. I think it's a 3-team race. I think it's Alabama, Auburn, and I think Texas is third, but I think they're a distant third. Okay. So, but hey, maybe you can work miracles. Someone mentioned on Orange Bloods today that Amari Latimer, who's a running back out of Georgia, is scheduled to take a Texas official visit. I haven't confirmed that. Amari, I've had a hard time getting in contact with Amari, so I'm going to work on that. But, that could be something to watch as your second back. He's not as high profile, certainly as Xavier Crowell, than, like you said, the #1 back in the class. So the short answer, could it happen? Yeah, reasonable chance. I think it'd be a long shot to land both. I think Texas gets KJ Edwards. I don't think they get Crowell in the end.
David Keith, thank you for that chat. Also, speaking of portal and running backs, and Jason just made a Georgia reference. Georgia running back Branson Robinson, as we got up today, reportedly going to enter the portal. Clemson, North Carolina, others interested. Jaden Ott, who got mentioned on a couple shows yesterday, coming out of Cal. That's already been done. He's going to OU. OU was one of the first schools mentioned. So Texas is going to have to deal with Jaden Ott in that game in Dallas at some point, possibly. He is going to transfer to OU. And to this question in the chat from Barb's 10, what's the holdup with Jaheim White? Barb's 10, he's not in the portal.
Yeah, it's 10:43. Barb's, what the hell's taking so long, right? But, listen, that one, we talk about it every week on some show, I feel like. I think we talked about it yesterday on the Modcast, maybe.
Yep.
I mean, that one would make sense, but, he hasn't given any indication that he's planning on leaving. I mean, people just thought, okay, Chad Scott's left, and you have an opportunity to go from West Virginia to Texas. I mean, everything about it makes sense, right? You'd play on a bigger stage, you'd be more competitive. I would think NIL would be more beneficial at Texas, but he said the right things in terms of staying, what West Virginia people want to hear, Jaheim White has. So I'm still watching that one, but I'm not necessarily expecting him to jump in the portal.
And who knows? Maybe they got him a little extra NIL money, and maybe he likes. They're going back to Rich Rod, right? It's Rich Rodriguez stepping in.
I saw that's right. But I think this morning, I saw on Twitter 20-something West Virginia players have already entered the portal. So
God, is that right?
Yeah. Wow. So we're definitely keeping an eye on for Jaheim White, Barb's 10, but I haven't seen anything concrete yet.
Nothing yet. Keep watching the shows. Keep checking it out. We will get to it. Jason, anything else we need to hit today?
No, I mean, there was a long list of visitors. We could probably have a 2-hour show today if we wanted, but it's damn near lunchtime for people. And but just keep an eye out. I've got some stuff on Orange Bloods today. We'll have a Truth and Lies tomorrow. We'll have a recruiting board update tomorrow. We'll have a war room tomorrow night. So anything we didn't cover here, head to Orange Bloods. We'll have you covered on quite a few guys over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also keep you covered through the rest of the day. We got a lot of content coming. We will get you that. We will also tell you again about Longhorn Wealth Management Group. This is the place that can help you with all your financial needs. certified financial planning. And again, to celebrate Emmett Mosley and maybe the other guys that are going into the portal, John and Longhorn Wealth, they're offering all Orange Bloods Live fans an unlimited window of opportunity. It's not like the transfer portal where there's just a small window. This is an unlimited window to take advantage of the free 90-minute private consultation. Learn how working with a certified financial planner like John can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy by identifying and implementing the strategies and solutions that you need to achieve all your wealth management goals and dreams. You can call John and the team at Longhorn Wealth at 972-707-4900 or go to longhornwealth.net. Schedule that free 90-minute private consultation today. John and his crew send along a big hook'em, and you know they are watching the portal as it opens today. Speaking of the portal, we will jump right into that coming up at 12 with House Divided. Jeff Ketchum has not been on a show this week and commented about Emmett Mosley. What does he think of him? How good does he think Mosley can be? We'll get his thoughts there. Plus, he's got some candidates for guys Texas might be looking at in the portal. That's coming up at 12. Football with Friends at 6. You know those two guys, Alex and Cody, will have some thoughts on the portal. Tonight in the Outsiders, we will talk about parents and the portal and this whole Nico situation. But also, I want to know what Little Chance Mock was rooting for in the pro wrestling world. WrestleMania is coming up. The Mock 5 Top 5. Chance's 5 favorite wrestlers when he was a kid. That's what I want to know tonight. Best wrestlers, that's a nerd conversation. But favorite wrestlers, we've all got those. So we'll get that from Chance tonight. Old Fashioned is tomorrow at 9. Thank you guys for jumping in the Specs chat. We appreciate you. Remember, if you didn't like it on the way in, please like on the way out. Thanks to those of you checking us out live, or if you're checking us out later, we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for the support. Until next week, another busy recruiting time. I'm sure next Wednesday at 10, we'll do it again with the recruiting hour because recruiting never stops. He's Jason Sukamel. I'm Chad Hastings. We are Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take care. See